Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. It's text me when you get home. This is Maya Marcano.
How may I help you? I'm calling to find out if I can have a wellness check. I called my mom. I was like, hey, what's the last time you spoke to Mia?
His exact words to me was, "Mom, I can't find Mia."
The last anybody spoke to her, she was waiting on an Uber to go to the airport. I thought that it was human trafficking. She's so pretty and so friendly. Maybe she got in an Uber and she was kidnapped. Yes, I think that's probably when they knew that this guy could possibly be connected to this.
This red shirt is what Mia was wearing when she was last seen.
Mia, I know you're alive. I know you're out there.
We saw the suicide on property.
One moment she was there, and the next she is gone. A young woman is missing tonight after leaving a bar with a stranger, then texting help to a friend.
You are watching her terrifying abduction.
A missing woman's new body was discovered in this ravine.
Miraculously, the young woman survived.
There is an alarming crisis of violence, kidnapping, and murder against innocent women. The senseless murder has struck a chord with thousands of women. This has sparked a global movement online of women sharing their own fears. They united under a hashtag, text me when you get home, a phrase that women are all too familiar with.
Mia is my princess, my daughter, my beautiful daughter. Mia is life, a beautiful light, bright light. Mia is the most perfect human being that I've ever met.
In September of 2021, Miya Marcano was a 19-year-old college student living in Orlando, Florida.
My family is from the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix too. Her dad's family is from Trinidad, and Mia was born in Florida, but nobody couldn't tell her she was not born in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. That's where her heart and soul was.
Carnival is a really big part of our lives in the islands. Carnival is a tradition from the Caribbean. It's the emancipation of slavery, where there were different costumes and you dance all the way up the road. Like it's like a freedom thing. She participated every year.
She loved carnival like so much. She loved putting on the costumes, dressing up, doing her makeup, going out and dancing and listening to the music that she loved. I think that's probably one of the top things that she enjoyed to do.
From the time Mia was very little, she was in the costume, all dressed up, and she did that for a lot of years. So carnival time was just our family's time to kind of get together and celebrate and have fun.
Mia was like the glue to both families because she just loved get-togethers, loved being with family. That was Mia.
She was outgoing. She was really funny. She always knew how to bring a vibe. She always knew how to bring happiness.
Mia's interests were sports for sure, dancing. She loved going out, traveling, meeting people.
She's been really good at school her whole life. She always got good grades.
She made smart decisions. She's never one to disappoint. Like where you have to be like, oh no, what is she gonna do now? No, Mia was a very good girl.
Her whole life has been like a princess. She was the family princess. She would brighten the room, and she was just fun to be around.
Hey Debbie, I just want to say a special congratulations to you. I'm very proud of you, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I love you.
At 18 years old, Mia heads to college in Orange County, Florida.
She wanted to do orthopedic surgery. She wanted to be one of the best orthopedic surgeons there is. That was just her.
It's the first time she's living on her own.
She was excited to be on her own, not even to just go and do whatever she wanted, but just to have her own space.
It was my understanding that that was a pretty safe area.
There's off-campus apartments, there's college, bars and restaurants, fraternity and sorority houses not too far away.
Mia loves school and flies through her freshman year. As a sophomore, she transfers schools within Orlando and rents a different apartment with a roommate.
She was in a gated community. Her dad went above and beyond. She had a ground floor apartment. He went and added extra security locks onto her windows. Mia had mace. She had one of those thumb gun things.
Mia's family warns her about the dangers that can occur living in a big city as a young single woman.
My sister said to her and my niece that anytime you're kidnapped or somebody grabs you, bite, scratch, fight, scream. Always want to go in a group. Don't ever go by yourself. Always check your surroundings. As much as I wanted to keep her in a bubble, I could not. I had to let her live. I had to let her experience life.
As Mia settles into her sophomore year in college, she takes a job in the leasing office of her apartment complex.
I know that Mia's family researched the school, the area, the apartment that she was living in. If she was going to work, she literally worked at the apartment complex that she lived, so she didn't have to go too far.
Between school and work, Mia's family checks in with her almost daily. They also keep up with her by following her social media accounts.
Social media was a really big part of Mia's life. She was always on social media.
The pictures that she would post on Instagram and stuff, you would be able to see right away what kind of person she is. There was nothing hidden behind her, nothing. She's always full of smiles, laughter, jokes.
Mia was traveling home, getting ready for the vacation that we had planned. We were getting ready to go on a trip to Jamaica.
I knew she was coming this weekend. She was definitely excited. She was like, yeah, I'm going to spend a night or two by your house. I was like, okay. That was it. She was happy.
She had texted me, I think at 1:33 p.m. Because I was working in Orlando at the time. I was filling up gas in my car getting ready to go home. She lived 5 minutes away from where I was working. I already checked out my hotel. I couldn't go anywhere else after that. So I was like, I'm actually getting ready to head home right now. She's like, no, don't worry about it, because Dad said he'll buy me a ticket to come home tonight. So I was like, all right, no problem.
Mia's parents are divorced. Her mom lives in the Virgin Islands and her dad in Fort Lauderdale.
We knew that she was taking a flight to Fort Lauderdale to her dad's. And then they told her, don't forget, call me when you get an Uber. And she said, hey, no, Mom.
Around 5 p.m., Mia's brother, Marlon, arrives home to Fort Lauderdale after a 3.5-hour drive from Orlando.
My grandma was like, hey, you heard from your sister? Like, I keep calling her, but it's not going through. So I left the house, and now, like, it's on my mind that she never answered, so I sent her a text. I was like, yo, call me. I have to stop to the store for something. And I told myself, I was like, if I go into the store and I don't either get a call or text back, then I'm going to be, like, a little alert, you know what I'm saying? And then I went into the store, I came out, I didn't have anything, like, no notifications on my phone.
My son, he calls. His exact words to me was, Mom, I can't find Mia. And, I was like, what do you mean you can't find Mia? So I called her and it went straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. And then that's when everything started.
19-year-old Miya Marcano, a college sophomore, hasn't answered any recent texts or calls from her family.
If I call Mia and she doesn't answer, she will text me, Auntie Fia, I'm in class, or just like, I'll call you right back, I'm doing something. I didn't get a reply, so now I started to get worried.
I texted like multiple times.
I
The
was
first one was like,
cheating.
hey, or something like that. And then the second one was, I think, was just like 6 question marks. The second time is when I realized like my text messages weren't going through.
I know she was going to work at 5, but I wasn't sure if she left at 5 or she left earlier to catch an earlier flight.
After working at the apartment complex where she lives, Mia's father buys her a plane ticket to fly home later that evening.
She was scheduled to take a flight back to Fort Lauderdale to start participating in our carnival festivities that we have every year. First call I made was to her job because I wanted to find out what time she left work. They were closed by then. My next calls were to Uber or Lyft just to see if maybe she caught one of them and she forgot her phone. They wouldn't give me any information. They said only the police could get that information. You don't want to go into panic yet because you want to give her the benefits of the doubt because things happen.
Mia's family reaches out to her friends in Orlando, hoping one of them has heard from her.
One of my best friends, he lived 5 minutes away from my sister. I told him to just post up by the front door, and nobody ever came to the front door.
Mia's family also calls her roommate. She isn't at home and hasn't heard from Mia.
Instantly, I knew something was wrong because that's not Mia at all.
Even though Mia's family have been trying to find her for hours, they still hold out hope she boarded her flight to Fort Lauderdale and that this is all just a big misunderstanding.
Just didn't want to think the worst. At the time, I just thought that she was on the plane safe and her phone was off.
We're waiting on a flight. We just wanted to make sure before we caught her missing that she was not on a flight.
Since Mia's mom lives in the Virgin Islands, she calls Mia's grandmother in Fort Lauderdale for help.
Her grandmother actually went to the airport to wait to see if she came off on a flight. She did not.
When they heard that she wasn't on the flight, then it was really serious.
Mia's mom calls 911.
Orange County Sheriff's Office, how may I help you? I'm calling to find out if I can have a wellness check. She was supposed to board a flight to go to Fort Lauderdale. The last anybody spoke to her, she was waiting on an Uber to go to the airport. Her phone has been turned off. And I called Uber and they won't give me any information. And we just wanted to know if the Uber picked her up or not. The last anybody made contact with her was at after 5.
They would not go into the apartment because there was nothing wrong. So they needed somebody to invite them in, and the roommate eventually came in and let them in.
Inside Mia's apartment, everything looks normal. Mia's bedroom door is closed and locked. Police knock on Mia's door, but no one answers. For unknown reasons, they do not attempt to gain entry. Instead, they go outside and look into her room through a window.
Her bedroom door is locked, so the officers went around the back, and her window was open. There's no way those windows could be open because there's extra security on the windows, and the window was wide open.
Looking into Mia's room from the outside window, authorities believe nothing seems out of place. But Mia's family isn't taking any chances.
Her dad drove up within hours of knowing that we couldn't find her, because I'm still here in the Virgin Islands, so there's no way for me to get a flight out that fast.
Mia's dad, her brother, and cousin drive through the night.
I just wanted to find my sister. Because in a situation like that, you don't know what to think.
Mia's family prays for answers as they try to figure out why she disappeared.
Over the night, it was my aunt that was really keeping our side of the family posted on what was going on. I couldn't sleep. I didn't go to sleep. I stayed up. I actually texted her when my mom told me that they couldn't find her. I just said Mia, just to see if it would go through. But it didn't go through. So I knew her phone was either dead or off. I knew something was really wrong.
Mia's father and family arrive at her apartment in Orlando. They force their way into Mia's room and are shocked by what they see inside.
They gained access to her room, and that's where things got very, very dark.
Although Mia's room looked normal to authorities from outside her window, inside her family uncovers a very different story.
They knew something was wrong because the entire bedroom was in disarray. There was dried blood on her pillow, and there was a teddy bear that I guess she would bring everywhere, and that bear was still there.
There was a cubby pushed behind the door, and the locks on her windows were gone. We know that there was a struggle because of how her room was. She used to wear these chains, and they were busted on the ground. and she wore these bracelets that they're from St. Croix. They're called cushion bracelets, and they're very, very strong. And two of them were broken on the floor. There's no way, no how you could break these bracelets without a struggle. The room, the night, her bedroom, the night. That was it. That it couldn't get any more serious than that. Everybody knows their children. Every parent knows their child. But we knew something was wrong.
19-year-old Miya Marcano has been missing for over 7 hours.
Her mom called the police in Orlando to do a well-being check on her. Miya wasn't home, and Mia's door was locked. The family was able to go inside and see her bedroom. Her dad had actually come and installed locks on the window at one point, and those locks were removed. Her necklace that she always wears was on the floor. That's when they knew that something was wrong.
Mia's dad and brother called her mom back in the Virgin Islands.
People have asked me, did I get a feeling that something was wrong? On September 25th, as I'm getting ready to try to go to the airport to get a flight out from St. Thomas to Orlando, I'm in the shower and I'm praying and I'm talking aloud and I have my eyes closed. When I open my eyes, I see my daughter in front of me, a vision of my daughter. She's crying and she has her hands like by her neck. I didn't tell anybody. What does this mean? You want positivity out in this outcome because I don't want it to be negative.
That night, as news of Mia's disappearance spreads, her family is still with the sheriff's deputy at her apartment in Orlando. They firmly believe Miya has been the victim of a crime.
I think the first thought that came to my mind was maybe she got in an Uber to go to the airport and she was kidnapped. I know Orlando is very popular when it comes to sex trafficking and different stuff. I was like, what else can it be? She's not gonna run away.
I thought at first that it was human trafficking. That was one of my fears. She's so pretty and so friendly.
One of the first questions on everybody's mind is if Miya has any enemies or knows of anyone who would want to hurt her.
I really didn't have any clue. So honestly, I didn't have any suspects in my mind because she never told us about anyone that would treat her that way or do anything to her like that.
She never came to me and said, Anthony, I'm scared of someone, or I have someone that wants to fight me. Never.
Another question is if Miya was dating anyone or had problems with an ex-boyfriend.
Miya has always had a lot of friends. I don't believe she had a boyfriend at the time.
Miya may not have had a boyfriend, but her roommate tells Miya's family there was someone who had interest in her.
Her roommate texts us and tells us to check the maintenance man. She gave his name and told us to check this guy out.
The maintenance man and Mia's co-worker at her apartment complex is 27-year-old Armando Caballero.
This guy worked with her, and this guy was obsessed with her, and he had been, making attempts to go out with her, and she wasn't interested. He had been sending her a lot of messages and things like that.
Mia's family is surprised to hear that she had a problem with her co-worker.
I never really pressed my sister on who she was friends with or who she was communicating with. Anybody ever disrespected her or said something out of pocket, she told her friends, and then when everything happened, her friends told me, but she never told me.
That night and into the early hours, as news of Mia's disappearance spreads, more of her friends call and show up at her apartment with suspicions about Armando. Since he was the apartment maintenance man, he might have known Mia's building number and had access to her apartment.
This guy had been texting her, saying that he wanted to give her money. He wanted to cash out her his life savings. He had obviously been interested in her, so he had maybe made some advances and she wasn't interested. And I guess they had texted back and forth. And of course, this is a coworker of hers at some point. So I would imagine she was being polite and responding and saying no thank you to the money and all that stuff she was being offered. I think that's probably when they knew that something isn't right and that this guy could possibly be connected to this.
As both Mia's family and the deputy at the scene learn about Armando's obsession, the unthinkable happens. Armando arrives at Mia's apartment.
They were at the apartment, and there he was, walking around. And if he's off his shift, why would he be there? And I think, like, them and all of our families, if they believe that somebody is suspicious and looks responsible, they're going to confront them. And that's what they did.
One of Mia's relatives turns on their cell phone and records the confrontation with Armando. He says he got a call from a mutual friend named Tati and that something happened to Mia.
But no one knows Tati. You keep mentioning Tati, but no one knows Tati. The roommates don't even know Tati. You keep saying Tati is a friend.
So they were recording the whole thing. He just said he had heard from a friend that something was wrong and he came to check it out.
As of right now, you have sent obsessive texts to Mia. We have all seen the text. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you were in touch. It's on text. As a matter of fact, we're going to get a police report to pull your phone records if that's the case.
And they were asking him the tough questions. They were saying, "What's going on? Do you know anything?"
There's evidence of obsession. You're fascinated with me.
It's not only from my side, so don't try to make this.
No one saying that. It takes two. Obviously, she's listening. So we're talking to you who've been going back and forth on text.
That is your family. Right. But until we figure out what's going on, you just don't beat me up.
No one's beating you up.
Guilty.
You put yourself in the middle right here. You brought yourself over here.
I think as a family member, they knew that something was off with this guy.
Somebody on this shit ain't gonna take it serious.
Someone that hanging out. They got this place right here. They go downtown. I don't know. Maybe her phone's off. I don't know what she.
Very nonchalant. I know what you're talking about. I know where she is. Couldn't care less.
Authorities ask Armando when he last saw Mia. He says it was around 3 p.m. Mia's family wants Armando taken into custody and questioned, but with no probable cause to arrest or detain him, authorities instead let him go.
If you ask me, they were actually treating him like he was a victim, like trying to shield him from the questions that her dad was asking. Just sad,
As the sun comes up and Mia is still missing, more family members arrive to help look for her.
Mia went missing Friday. We got there this Saturday.
While searching, they once again see Armando. This time, they decide to take matters into their own hands and follow him.
He has gloves. He has gloves.
Everything about him screamed, I know where she is. Everything about him. Every single thing about him.
After 19-year-old Miya Marcano goes missing, her family believes her co-worker, Armando Caballero, might have something to do with her disappearance.
I heard his name from one of Mia's friends, probably like an hour or two before he showed back up to Mia's apartment. That's really how he got onto the radar, to be honest.
They didn't have enough to pinpoint him as the main suspect, which is why she had went missing and he was still walking around the apartment complex.
We have all seen the text. You talked about giving her your life savings.
According to Mia's friends, Armando is obsessed with her. When he shows up at her apartment in the early hours after she went missing, it proves to Mia's family that he's involved.
I guess the radar went up with him. That, because why are you here at this hour? And I asked my sister, who is this guy? And she was like, I don't even know who he is.
Hours after they confront Armando, Mia's family sees him again and decides to follow him.
This man was still living his life, walking around, so they went ahead and they followed him to where he was living and took a video from across the street.
It was her grandmother and her cousins was in the car.
He has gloves. He has gloves. The blanket.
God, that is my blanket.
The one video there was her blanket. Her grandmother gave her a pink blanket. And when they followed him, here he is taking out that same blanket that was in Mia's room. He had it in his hand.
Again, Mia's relatives call 911.
have reason to believe that the maintenance guy is someone of interest as a suspect. He gave us his address, and I happened to drive by the address. He was outside, and he was in his car. He got out the back seat, pulling out a blanket, a pair of gloves, and a black book bag.
I think a family member even went in with him with the assistance of a police officer to go inside and check out his apartment.
By the time investigators arrive, the pink blanket is nowhere to be found.
Where is that blanket today? Nobody knows. He took it in. Never found it. There is video of him with it, so we know he had it.
After looking around Armando's apartment, police do not see any evidence tying him to Miya. Her family is devastated.
So they shot that video on their own over the weekend, and right there knew something was wrong. And that's when, once we arrived and we were all covering this and we're all looking for her.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office released this updated missing flyer on Tuesday. They say this red shirt is what Miya was wearing when she was last seen on Friday.
24 hours after Miya's disappearance, authorities begin to look into her case.
We're trying to help the police as best that we can to try to find Miya. We're up there searching miles along grass areas all around trying to find her. Just trying to do our best that we can to help bring her home safe.
Her family invites the public to help search for Miya. They want to make sure Miya's case is getting as much coverage as possible.
We're just ready to bring her home, but we need everyone's help.
I really feel like that's unfortunately how it has to happen to garner the support of mainstream media for Black and brown people of color that are missing.
The search was pretty high intense. A lot of walking, a lot of going in places like getting dirty, walking through creeks and things like that, going against wilderness.
My mom called me on the phone and she was like, they need you to speak at a press release. We need to do this press release right now. So they brought us out and I spoke on behalf of our family.
Miya, this message is for you. I know you're alive. I know you're out there. We love you.
My speech was to her, and I was talking to her.
This family believes in God. We believe in hope, and we have faith. As soon as you're ready, Miya, come. Give us the sign, and we're right there. You know it. I told her to always be strong, because we're here. We're waiting for her. We're fighting for her,
At that point, it was like, I hope that she's alive. I pray that she's alive. I hope I'm not searching for a body. I hope I'm searching for her.
We found a suicide on property, someone hung themselves in the garage.
3 days after Miya's disappearance, a 911 call comes in saying Armando Caballero has died by suicide.
They're in our pink garage.
Caballero was found in the maintenance garage of the building where he used to work.
We're on our way to the police station, and that's the day I found out that he killed himself.
It was the turning point because they knew this man was likely guilty and was likely responsible.
It's a sense of defeat. He killed himself, and he's the only one that has all the answers to where my child is.
Investigators were here all day long, zeroing in on this area behind me. Now, I've covered people that have gone missing, but I think this was a little different because it was almost like working backwards a little bit because she was actively missing, and I feel like we were kind of working alongside the detectives, the police, and the family to find her and kind of put the missing pieces together.
As investigators now look into Miya's case with a focus on Armando as the suspect, her family's only mission is to find Miya.
There was a very big turnout on the people that showed out to support us during that time. A lot of family came down from even Canada. They came down to Orlando to help for the search.
Every morning we wake up, meet down in the lobby, and we'll figure out that, today, but we're going to go comb this area. I bet we're going to go pass out posters in this area. All right, bet I'm going to go door to door in this community.
They were doing interviews, press conferences whenever they could, and we became close with them. That was really unique. Sometimes families are really closed off, and in this case, they wanted to do whatever they could to get her back, and they were kind of using us as a tool to get that message across publicly.
Every day we had vans lined up in the parking lot. Every day that we would do a candle vigil, there was endless media trying to get an interview.
Over the next few days, as the search continues, the demand on Mia's family to provide updates on her case grows. They eventually make the decision to hire a public relations firm.
There was a lot of calls for interviews and press conferences, and the Marcano family and the Skybriar family was completely overwhelmed and very focused on finding their daughter. So we took on the management of the media at that time, not just media, but social media. She was big on TikTok. She had an Instagram and Facebook. So I had started to post a lot of their flyers and calls to action on our platforms, as well as other platforms that I organize and run. There were hundreds of thousands of people that were retweeting and reposting and sharing and commenting and sending love and sending support. It was coming from all over the world.
Over a week after Mia went missing, investigators released a timeline of what they believe happened on the day of her disappearance. At 4:34 p.m., while Mia was at work, a master key fob belonging to the maintenance man in her building, Armando Caballero, was used to enter her apartment. Mia hadn't put in a service request for maintenance. At 5 p.m., after working in the leasing office of her apartment complex, security camera footage shows Mia walking back to her apartment. Mia's key fob is used to enter her apartment at 5:06 p.m. She is never heard from again. Authorities tracked down Armando Caballero's phone records for the day Mia went missing and the 3 days before he killed himself. His phone records show he was at Mia's apartment complex at the time of her disappearance. Shortly after she returned home, his cell phone leaves the building and starts pinging off towers around Orlando.
Wherever his cell phone went off, that's where police were searching. So that's why we went up to Seminole County. His phone was, I guess, pinged in that area for quite some time. We ended up even going a lot further north that was completely out of the way. And I believe police essentially told us that he may have went up there as kind of a marshy area to throw them off.
8 days after Mia went missing, police searched one of the locations where Armando's phone pinged. It happens to be in the woods behind an apartment complex where he used to live near New Smyrna Beach, just outside Orlando.
That morning, we were on our way down to New Smyrna, and as we hit the highway, he calls the detective and asks me to come in. And then he asked me who I'm with, and I told him with family. And he said, "Bring your sister."
When we got there, the detective said only me and her could go inside, nobody else. They took us to a room, and then I just knew I had a bad feeling. They said that they found someone, and they found a bag that matches hers. I'm sorry.
And I remember telling me that they found a body. Her purse was found next to her with her IDs, and I think that's what I remember most of that conversation. And in that minute, every single memory out of me, I just went strong. From birth until that day. One moment she was there, and the next she is gone.
We begin with breaking news. Sadly, the search for 19-year-old Miya Marcano has ended. Authorities have found the body of a female who they believe is the missing teen.
8 days after 19-year-old Miya Marcano went missing, she is found dead in the woods behind an apartment complex where the prime suspect in her murder, Armando Caballero, once lived. Mia's body is found partially clothed with no visible signs of sexual assault. Her hands, feet, and mouth area have been bound with duct tape. The medical examiner states that, quote, due to advanced decomposition, the cause of death is the result of homicide by undetermined means.
At 19, Mia had her whole life ahead of her. I would never get to see her become an orthopedic surgeon. Never get to see her be a wife, a mom. You know, you have your children. You set them up. You put them in a world. You try your best to protect them. And then for somebody to feel that they have the right to take that from you.
When they told me, like, I just dropped down to like a knee, it's just something I'll never be able to get over.
I was with her brother Marlon. He tells me like they found her, and I asked him. I was like, "Is she okay?" And he was like, "No, probably the worst thing I've been through in life to this moment. Just full of hate, anger, sadness."
On the day that I was traveling up to help look for her is when they found her. I saw the Orlando Police Department started their live, so I watched it and I listened to what they were saying. And as soon as it ended, I just broke down crying in the airport.
Hundreds of Orange County Sheriff's Office personnel were committed to this case and working very hard. Everyone wanted this outcome to be different.
I knew she fought and she fought hard. I know that.
For the next couple of days, I think everyone was still in shock. And so we just spent time together and everyone was just trying to figure out what happened.
Investigators believe Armando's obsession with Mia was his motive. After using a master key fob, they suspected he killed her and dumped her body in the woods. Then he killed himself when he became the prime suspect.
I think that's what made this story so difficult, because for parent, you can do everything right. And this can still happen. Your 19-year-old daughter, you cannot prepare her for someone to be in her room when she gets home from work.
The pink blanket Mia's family believes Armando took from her apartment is never found.
The last time I saw her, I wish, you just held her longer. You held her longer. When I saw the clips of the news, of the tape of her walking into her apartment, I screamed so loud that day, telling her not to go, even though I already knew what the outcome was. It mentally destroys you.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
We stayed in Orlando for a couple of days until they were ready to take her to Fort Lauderdale. We wanted to give her such a good send off, but it was very sad. It was happy and it was sad because they made it like a celebration of life. 19 years old.
Every day I look at her pictures, eventually, that's it. There's no more pictures to be made. There's no more memories. Her pictures are going to get faded just like everything else. In life, she's going to be forever 19. That's it.
In the midst of their grief, Mia's family decides to take action and create her legacy.
We're turning pain into purpose. The Miya Marcano Foundation is a nonprofit organization that has a primary focus to help a person's families that are missing, to provide the support, the education, the knowledge, and the resources to help find their loved one. And then we got some wind underneath our wings and we decided that our law needed to be changed. We had a law passed in her name. It's called Mia's Law. It's a bipartisan legislation. The law ultimately wanted to do three things, and that was to, one, when a maintenance man comes, you have to be informed now a whole 24 hours in advance. Two is to ensure that apartment complexes keep a record and a log of every time that a member of their staff enters an apartment. And three, and most important, is to ensure that background checks are conducted on every single employee, especially the ones that have direct access to keys and units. This is not just a state of Florida issue. Our goal would be to get Mia's law passed nationally. I find myself at times like waiting to get that call like, hey, mom, what's up? I feel a presence a lot. I do. Mia's everywhere. Everywhere.
Not a day goes by that I don't think about my sister. Our real life would never be the same.
We always think we have time. I never think that I would be sitting here today talking about Mia in the past. I always thought that I had forever. I want everyone to remember her name, remember her beautiful smile.
If I could text Mia right now, I would tell her that I love her and her name will forever live on. The Miya Marcano Foundation will forever live on.
I just wish I could hug her more and tell her I love her more. 19 was way too short. Way too short.